the business plan sets out how you'll deliver your 22 to 25 strategic plan. Yes? We're agreed with that?
Yes.
Yet, 3 of you looked at us with blank faces when Mark picked out on a particular theme. So I'm trying to understand whether your business plan is something that you are actively pursuing or whether this is a nice to do that you chucked in that line as a sop to this committee so we'd leave you alone. Discuss. We'll go back to this business plan. So what status does it hold within your organisation?
Well said as well. I've got a copy here. It's a live document.
You don't know what's in it, do you?
Well, it's 30-odd pages, and we've got about 120 different activities.
Okay. So
all of those are being taken forward.
The business plan... No, they're not all being taken forward because Melanie just told us that they weren't being taken forward. The business plan sets out how you'll deliver your 22 to 25 strategic plan. Yes? We're agreed with that?
Yes.
Yet, 3 of you looked at us with blank faces when Mark picked out on a particular theme. So I'm trying to understand whether your business plan is something that you are actively pursuing or whether this is a nice to do that you chucked in that line as a sop to this committee so we'd leave you alone. Discuss.
I wonder whether I could explain the way that the scrutiny of our work happens in board. So we have
I think that would be very
calendar.
helpful. How does the board engage with this?
But we commission papers, we expect them to provide information, and that keeps we have a rolling actions log, so we know what they're doing in the areas they're committed to working on, and we have a calendar of board meetings that looks at all the areas through the year that were meant to be delivered and what we expected to happen there. So we're given regular updates as to what happens when we're expected to deliver in certain areas. Sometimes, we admit, things slip, but on the whole, we are confident as we review our annual plan year on year, that our annual plan is the subtext of our business plan over 3 years.
Right, so you have an annual plan which you hold the board accountable for the delivery of, or they hold you, Martial, accountable for the delivery of? Let's work out which way round it is.
The board holds me rightly accountable for the delivery of the activities in the business plan. In order for me to seek that assurance from my teams, we've split the delivery into the 6 strategic priorities that are set out in our strategy. And so I have individuals who are accountable to me, who are responsible for all of our work on health and social care, for example, or all of our work addressing issues with children and young people. And that is the mechanism by which we manage the activity on a month-by-month basis, and that's reported to me in the meetings that I chair internally, and then in turn I report to the board. And
I think we all can understand that things slip. What proportion, what percentage of things slip?
I don't have a specific percentage.
No, give me your gut instinct. So if you were to say that you were working at 100% of capacity, are you there or are you at 80, 60, 20?
I can give you an example. You I think, told us in 2019 that you thought that we should produce single-sex spaces, exemptions, guidance for service providers. It took us till April 2022 to produce that.
Do you think it was this committee? It would have been a predecessor committee in 2019.
Perhaps your predecessor. But sometimes when you're doing policy work, and it's particularly policy work where things might slip because our enforcement action is time sensitive. But when you're doing policy work, as you look at a particular area of policy, what you discover is that potentially there were other side issues that you hadn't anticipated. And so if you're wanting to look at things in the round, then it sometimes takes longer than you expect it to. Sometimes your resources aren't, you have to go externally. An area is the online safety bill and the use of artificial intelligence, for example. Artificial intelligence is a new area of our work. So we've had to recruit in expertise in that area. We didn't have it internally. And on the online safety bill, the parliamentary briefings on that were quite challenging. It was a large and complex bill. So we diverted resources away from another piece of work to work on that. That's what, you will recall, Madam Chairwoman, that I inserted the word agility into our strategic plan. I want us to do more and say perhaps less. And that's what this means, is that when you see a priority piece of work coming up, you should be able to have the flexibility to divert resources from something that can wait, that isn't a top priority, into something which is time sensitive, such as legislation going through Parliament.
Who takes that decision?
Who takes that decision? We take it together as a board. So Martial will, because we have a rolling actions log.
What role does the board play in that? Is it between the two of you, or does the rest of the board get involved?
Well, it depends on Martial's judgment of what category of decision. So if it's a decision, then the board obviously would get involved. If it's for note, then the board may or may not be informed of information. And we have an hour between us on the CEO's report at every board meeting. Sometimes he will initiate the discussion in the CEO report, and we'll have a discussion around that particular issue. CEO report is a written report and comes to us. It is sometimes between 30 and 50 pages long. I encourage him to make it shorter, but it is a comprehensive piece of work.
And are you satisfied, both you and Martial, that you're being adequately supported by the board?
Yes.
Indeed, I'm exceptionally pleased with the composition of the board. It is a deeply intellectual, deeply expert board. And one of the remarkable things when we had a board effectiveness review last year, which we're bound to do every couple of years, one of the remarkable things in that they noted was that we had a higher level of board member engagement than they had seen on any other board. So almost no one misses any board meetings. They said that people came to the board, commissioners came to the board exceptionally well informed, having thoroughly read papers, and the attendance level and engagement in board meetings was exceptionally high.
Are you prepared to share that board effectiveness review with us?
It was commissioned for us. It's an internal document, and that is, I have a policy that stands.
You're satisfied with the board. The board effectiveness review said that they attended, they contributed well. Are your staff satisfied with the performance of the board?
The board effectiveness review interviewed all board members and interviewed certain staff. I think it was lead staff in certain areas. They might have done a random sampling as well. Effectively, I think the message that we got out of the board effectiveness review in terms of staff, that the board, we needed as an organisation to roll out impartiality training, that staff weren't quite there in understanding their role.
Have you rolled it out?
We did that, yes, we read for all commissioners and all staff in 2020-21.
Okay.
And that's why I wanted to discuss with you that we do extensive training across the board.
Can I just clarify that? So you rolled out impartiality training in 2021 because your board effectiveness review of which year told you that you needed it?
No, our board effectiveness review told us subsequently, that we still needed to do that, should be part of the induction pack for staff.
You rolled it out in 21, but it wasn't effective a year later.
Well, I wouldn't say it wasn't effective. What I would say is that perhaps if you were coming in as new staff, and this is the point I'm trying to make, and if you had missed the training in 2021, the advice was that we should give it to all onboarding staff as part of their induction pack.
Martial, Kishwa hasn't answered the question. Are your staff satisfied with the board?
Well, a year ago, we had an in-person event in Manchester, where our headquarters is, and board members were present, staff were present, and it was a positive and motivational experience where people got to see each other. And I mentioned that because of two factors that make it difficult for some staff to engage with the board. One is that we've been through COVID and remote working, and we're all dispersed across 4 offices. And the second one is, as is the case in every single public body, board members, non-executive members, come along for the meeting, engage, contribute, add value, and then they're not in the office on a day-to-day basis as all staff are. So visibility is inevitably lower, and these are some of the issues that we want to make sure that staff have opportunities to see the board. Glasgow, where enable staff and board members to get together, and that was again a positive experience, and that's So that's the kind of thing that we're going to be doing more of.
I wonder whether I could just come in on that a point of correction.
To answer questions accurately. I just want to put that on the record. I've asked a specific question about whether your staff are happy with the board. I don't feel that I've had an answer. Kishwa, perhaps you can try.
Yes, I will try. I just wanted to correct something that Martial said. He didn't, I'm sure, Martial, I shouldn't put words into your mouth, but all staff aren't in the office all the time. Let's make that, we are visible. There is an issue about visibility. There was a view among staff that we weren't sufficiently visible. The challenge is that when you are in there, as I was all day yesterday, there were 4 other staff in the office, 5 perhaps. So you're not visible because we have large numbers of our staff come into the office only on certain days of the week. We're trying to improve those figures through the People and Workplace Committee as we ourselves are trying to come into the office more. Now, your question about do we believe that all staff are satisfied with the board? I think it's very difficult to answer that for the simple reason that we have 2 entirely different functions. Staff are employees of the organisation. They have different parameters for performance measurement. Commissioners are, in a way, non-executive. They're commissioners. They have different roles to play. And engagement between staff and board is very variable. For example, you've seen the figures. For example, I do very little work with corporate services, but the commissioner who does the People and Workplace Committee, or indeed other commissioners who help comms, do a lot more work with corporate services. I, for example, do much more work with policy, strategy and legal, as Alistair Henderson does, who's more the deputy chair who's responsible, who assists in this area. Our other deputy chair does corporate functions, people in workplace, and so on. So we have different roles, and it depends on what the area is that you're dealing with in terms of your visibility.
Please do correct me if I'm mistaken in what you said, but you said this was a difficult question to answer because of different roles and various reasons, and staff might not see board members. Do you ask the question in your staff survey?
About visibility?
No, as to whether your staff are happy with the board, whether they're satisfied with their performance.
I think I'm not sure we do in that manner. There are some questions asked more recently about the board, but we weren't consulted on that, and we're wanting to engage to put in questions that will give us the answer that we can come and speak to you about next.
Is the staff survey carried out by an external organisation?
It is, yes.
It is. So you don't dictate to them the questions?
Well, we should do. You make a very valid point. We should do.
Do you know whether there's a question in that survey about how happy the staff are?
I don't think we use that terminology.
Thank you.